And we are starting, and we should be live. Cool.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Welcome to the December 19th meeting of the Pirate National Committee. My name is Rose, aka Yari. We are not going to start quite yet because we do not have a quorum here of the members of the PNC today, but we just thought we'd begin our little session anyway. So waiting as it is on a few members who are joining us a bit late. But in the meantime, if you have any questions and want to put them in the comments down below, we are happy to answer those as always. If you're watching this in the future, of course, feel free to put your questions in the comments anyways, and we'll get back to you in the future.
Yeah,
So,
future
yeah.
people, please still leave us a comment. It does help boost the algorithm, so we're not going to
Yeah,
complain.
yeah, of course, of course. So,
And you can always reach us directly at info@uspirates.org.
Yeah, or you can just tweet at us or something. We're pretty easy to get a hold of, all things considered. Or you could join our Discord, which is on our website, and speak to a pirate directly, like whenever you want, provided it's not 4 a.m., as someone's still probably on at 4 a.m. So you could also join our Discord.
we have had a few people come on at 4 a.m. I think mostly German pirates
Yeah.
or something like that, which has always been rather interesting for them to pop on at 4 a.m. and say, "Hey, who's awake in the U.S. pirate server?" And we're going,
Yeah.
"No, we're all asleep." And then we pop back on in the morning and go,
Oh,
"Sorry, we weren't awake."
I'm in the Discord server. The German Young Pirates just currently restarted. They've formed, so they have a
Exciting.
new branch of the German Young Pirates. So I decided, hey, I'm a I'm a young pirate. I'm a college-aged pirate at least. I should join and go network. And I forgot how difficult it is to talk to Germans because they're not the opposite of us, but they're like 7 hours ahead. So it's a little difficult. But we still had some conversations, so that's been pretty fun.
Yeah. I'm curious what I know we had the election in Chile, which Mitch just posted about, which are congrats to those there. And I know that the Chile Pirate Party was very excited about that. I mean, it's not necessarily a win for the Pirate Party specifically, but it is a win for the politics that we endorse and our platforms. I guess I'm curious if there's anything that y'all are looking at. What sort of elections are we? What elections are you keeping your eyes on, local or international?
Oh, well, I mean, I did pay attention to the German election pretty closely, and that was interesting, to say the least. I learned a lot
It
about
was
German
intense.
politics that I didn't know. It
Yeah.
was kind of intense. And really, I am surprised that they got a coalition between the SPD, which, for those who don't know, that's like the center left, a little bit more further left than the Democrats here party, the Greens, and the FDP, which are like the liberal libertarians of Germany, to work. A lot of people are skeptical that they might not get anything done, but they've sort of all bonded on this. Well, we're not the Christian Democrats, which is like the center right party. We'll figure something out. So I'm actually more curious about what's going to happen to Germany now that they have that coalition, because those are three pretty different parties that now have to work together.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting. I mean, it'll be really
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see how that goes forward, and I'm definitely excited to see kind of. I don't know. I know that there was the big hit that the Pirate Party took in the Czech elections,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's still a this sort
I
of
wouldn't characterize it as a hit. I mean, they ended up with, I think, the same number of delegates.
yeah. It was that's true. That's true. I think
They
it
were big
was
enough that they were invited into government, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah 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 yeah.
It was a bumpy success with a lot of twists and turns. But hey,
yes, that's more accurate. That is more accurate.
It is still pirates in a parliament, which is always a huge deal when we get it.
know.
There are pirates within the ruling coalition of the Czech Republic. And that is just, I mean, what if that's not something that should hopefully inspire optimism in all pirate adjacent and pirate friendly individuals that might be watching? I don't know what is. Our ideas are popular enough that we can be at least a minority part of a coalition in a small European country, which is better than 90% of political ideologies, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie, are there any elections that you're particularly keeping an eye on right now? Or campaigns, even?
I mean, 2022 will see. 2022 in Massachusetts will see our gubernatorial and all of our constitutional offices elections will occur, and of course our House of our local general court, as we call it in Massachusetts, because we're just that type of state, that type of commonwealth, I guess, that we call our legislature the general court. But those elections will be coming up. So, we're going to focus the next few months on encouraging people to run, getting ourselves further organized, and hopefully we can put some people certainly on the ballot, if not elected.
And just to make a point, if you are interested in keeping up with the 2022 elections, you should definitely follow our 2022 congressional candidate for Illinois 1, Mitch DeVillo. I can't think of his Twitter handle off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can put that in the description. Just to make a point there, we are currently running one federal candidate. It's not something we do often because we would like to keep our efforts to things we can actually win. But we do have one, and I would like to think that he has a chance of getting some percentage of the vote. So go check him out, spread the word. I just wanted to do some
we got to promote ourselves.
Get his name out there a little bit. We got to promote ourselves.
Right. It's important. Yeah, absolutely.
For those of you interested in running, we also have a video we recorded last year.
Yes.
About it's only an hour long, if that, about how to run for office, kind of soup to nuts. And it could be, you could run just for name recognition. You could just get on the ballot and not do anything. You could, get on the ballot and then identify a section of your town or city that you want to run in and run. There are lots of different strategies, going from what are called paper candidates all the way up to really running a competitive campaign. And what's important is for people to even just be on the ballot. In Massachusetts, 60% of the legislature, come the general election, will have no opponent. It'll basically be a Democrat or a Republican. And since 90% of the legislature are Democrats, mostly Democrats. But even to have a pirate on there would be an achievement. So I certainly encourage people to consider running. Massachusetts is 150 signatures to get on the ballot for the House, and 300 for our Senate. Your state may have different rules that are hopefully easier than.
It's definitely a lot more in some other places, speaking from
experience.
Like
California, I think it's actually harder to get on the ballot for the assembly. I think it's the assembly, California Assembly, than it is to get on for for Congress. So
yeah.
Though generally speaking, the state legislature, especially the lower chamber of the House, here we call it the General Assembly, and it has the House and the Senate in Indiana. But generally speaking, the state legislature is a great place to run if you just want to run for an office. Because, like Jamie said, most of these people are unopposed. If you just want to run as a pirate, or heck, if you're from another third party visiting us and you want to find out how to get involved, make a change for the better, if you run for the state legislature, you legitimately might end up getting elected just based on a bunch of people being contrarian. It is that uncontested a lot of the time, especially in more rural areas with less population. It is a part of our government that we need more people paying attention to. Because who do you think makes all these laws that the federal government isn't responsible for? It's a bunch of people that you probably don't even know the names of your state representatives. So research that. I had to search for years to actually find the website of the Indiana General Assembly. It is hidden. No one cares about it. But it is almost sometimes more important to our democracy than certain federal seats. So research that stuff and get involved if you want to.
Yeah. To Jamie's point, like we have this fantastic resource in terms of that hour-long video. I've watched it; it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. It is well worth your time. Whether you're going into it thinking of running or not, it definitely highlights the steps of doing that very well. And yeah, go and check that out. Jamie, where can people find that? That's on the Massachusetts Pirate YouTube, right? And we
that's
also
on the U.S. Pirate Party YouTube.
It's on the U.S. Pirate Party
I'll
YouTube.
put it in the chat, and you can include it in the.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, great video. Yeah, definitely recommend people check that out because so many of these seats are just uncontested, and it's like, well, in a democracy, if there's only one choice, it's not really democratic in any way. Then, and that's frustrating. That's very frustrating. Seems very counter to the point.
Running exclusively to give people an alternative choice is what the libertarians have been doing for decades now. And it has worked. They now have someone in Congress. Now, granted, he switched from the Republican, but the libertarians are pretty successful considering all the things that work against third parties in America. And it's all just been a bunch of people saying, hey, what the heck? Why not get involved? We can do the same thing. If you're not a libertarian, which I'm assuming if you are watching this video, you're probably a little bit sympathetic to the libertarians, but not that much. If you can do the same thing they do, you can do the same thing they do. If you just take the time to do it, you might get elected somewhere if you just try, especially in some of these seats where people run unopposed.
Yeah. So some great points here. I do want to bring us back around to the fact that unfortunately it is we've run into 15 minutes in and into our normal meeting time, and we don't have a quorum. So I'm going to suggest that we either, make a decision here to either decide to just like adjourn the meeting, not that there was a meeting, or to have a discussion. Hey, it looks like Bosun has arrived. Look at that. Okay. That actually gives us a quorum. Fantastic.
So
I heard you were
mind.
having tech troubles. We have a quorum.
Yeah, I don't know. It crashed my main machine, and then it's like taking forever to reboot. So
well, I'm glad you got found
I
your way
grabbed
over
the
here.
laptop, so and I didn't have my Bosun account set up on it, so I.
Yeah. Well, thank you for making it here. Yeah, there you go. Thank you for making it here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Joe.
Okay. Yeah, I just had one quick question for you, Jamie, if I may. So there was one thing that we were eagerly awaiting to see how the new mayor handles a couple situations. We were discussing it briefly when we were talking earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to just bring that in or bring that up.
Sorry, I'm confused. I'm not sure what you mean.
Just how it deals with a lot of like what's going on with the police and stuff, or I don't know.
Oh, you mean what we discussed at the Massachusetts Pirate News?
Yes.
Oh, sure. So,
Well, how about you just make people go watch the Massachusetts Pirate News episode if they want to know your thoughts?
Oh, that's a good point.
that's
Maybe we
good.
can
I'll
put it.
send that. I'll send that link.
Yeah. There we go.
Good point.
We got to get our click funnels in. That's how the internet works.
I
With
will make sure
links?
that is. Yeah, I will make sure that is linked
Ooh.
down in the description. So go check out Massachusetts Pirate News over on the Massachusetts Pirate YouTube channel. They do a fantastic job of looking at the political news of the week, and a worthwhile view for sure. We have a quorum now, so I am going to go ahead and start us off, calling this meeting of the Pirate National Committee to order at 9:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. IDs, please. Bosun, you want to kick us off?
Joe Klein,
Wisconsin.
assistant chair of the National Pirate Party, and I believe I'm representing Wisconsin tonight.
Okay, cool. Jamie.
James O'Keefe, Party Secretary, Massachusetts.
Okay, and Joe.
Also of the fine state of Massachusetts, and I am the treasurer, Joseph Onorowski.
Okay, and AJ.
Anthony J. I represent the Indiana Pirate Party, and since it's sometimes relevant, I will say I chair our outreach committee for the USPP.
Thank you. And my name is Rose Klein. I am the chair of the Pirate National Committee. So thank you all for being here this lovely Sunday. So let's get going. First things first, we are going into reports. Anything from the IT committee?
The IT did not meet this week.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks.
Anything from the outreach committee?
So, outreach, we had a meeting this week, and it was similarly about this pirate care package thing that we've been working on. Though, after talking about it a little bit more and talking about it pretty consistently for a few weeks, I believe that the committee has come to the conclusion that we might be putting the cart before the horse on this one. And so we have decided to move forward by simply, for a little bit, we're exclusively going to talk about producing the physical pirate media that we need to do something like this. So flyers, we need to design those, we need to figure out how we're making those. The buttons, any kind of pirate things we would want to send out to anybody is going to be our first focus, and then we can figure out how we want to get these to people, and we think that might give us better results.
Okay.
Because we were trying to tackle the whole thing at once, and we decided, we're going to step back a little bit, because it wasn't working.
Chew it in little bites.
Yeah.
Okay. Platform committee, thank you very much. Joe?
During the platform committee, we started tackling one of the big elephants in the room as far as what's going on with all the Second Amendment side, and we really started tackling the whole gun control question. And I think for the most part, what we're getting from that is that pirates are very pro-gun, but at the same time, at least where I'm coming from, or my stance is in line with how Massachusetts is, which is on the more restrictive side, with a key focus on both, a key focus on the training, or proper use of firearms, but two, also the thing that came up with some of the mental aspects, because one of the leading causes, or the number one things about people who exercise their Second Amendment right, is in the suicide, and how high that number is with suicides. So, I mean, obviously, a lot more to explore in that topic, a lot more to talk about, a lot more to discuss. But I think it's pretty safe to say that we are both pro-gun and pro-regulation. So, I think we have a lot more details to hammer out. But as always, it's always lively over at the platform, because there's just so many different angles and so many different ways that we can go, and so many different ways that we can apply the pirate perspective to all the laws. So,
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Do you have the previous position? Is there any?
So there is no previous. There's no precedent. I think I'm the
No,
first
sorry,
one
I'm not
to.
talking about. I'm not sorry. I'm not talking about the Second Amendment thing. I'm specifically saying the previous issue that was addressed by the platform committee. Are there any pieces of that are going to be I guess I'm wondering with
We've covered
all
a lot
these
of different topics. Sorry for interrupting.
With all these, are they being solidified? Like what have you covered recently before this one?
So I really every week I've tried to cover something new and really start trying to hammer out a lot of what our different planks are. Over this next break, I really plan to sit down and get them all formulated into at least an outline with a copy paste mentality of trying to get at least all of our thoughts, all of our ideas collected into each category and segment. And so I think that I definitely, on that regard, I have my work cut out for me. But that being said, we have covered a lot of different topics, a lot of different things. There's a lot of different places in which we can build our platform on. And I think that we are pretty well unanimous in a lot of the core pirate principles and pirate ideas. And I think it has come back to some very common themes where they're all intermixing together. And so it's going to take a good deal of work to separate all those out. And so, again, I'm going to try and get a master list and get those all set up in different pirate pads.
Okay, cool, awesome. So I'm glad that we'll have all of those collated together. I'm excited for that. Okay, thank you. And then I noticed that we don't have Mitch here. So unless there's anything that anyone else knows, or unless anyone has a specific swarm care report that Mitch gave them.
I don't have something he gave me specifically, but I will say something that's sort of swarm care adjacent.
Oh, actually, he sent something.
Did he send you something? All right.
Yeah. I'm just noticing this. Sorry. But sorry. Go ahead. What did say?
I'll just say, I don't know if he said this or not, but I do want to make a point because it has been a pretty hot topic amongst pirates lately. We are continuing to work on a proposal for our Young Pirates of America branch. I just wanted to let everyone know that is something Mitch and I, with the help of Meg and some other people here and there, something we've continued to talk about and something we would like to present soon. I believe he said like a 2-week deadline 2 weeks ago. So I wanted to update and say, we're not quite there yet, but I think we're pretty close.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the update. I appreciate that. Do we need? Is there any additional assistance that you all need with that? Any resources that the PNC could offer you, or a deadline that you want?
I don't know. I know we pretty much have a actual proposal on the proposed. What am I thinking of? We've drafted a proposal to suggest to the PNC about what rights members of certain ages have or don't have to open up that discussion. But that would, of course, have to coincide with the actual forming of the Young Pirates branch, so no one feels like they're being slighted in any way, because that's not what we want. So that's something we would like to present. We have something... what am I trying to say? We have something that we might want to present soon for the discussion of the PNC that involves the actual written out rules about how to deal with members under certain ages and, age categories and things like that. What we don't have yet is a proposal for what the Young Pirates branch would look like. Does that make sense?
Sure. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah. I think a branch like that, the most important part with regards to the PNC is how it interfaces with the PNC, and internal organization, it should be able to self-govern to a certain extent and self-organize to a certain extent.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much more about it because, it's still...
Sure. Yeah, we don't have to hash this out now for exactly why you're bringing this up later. So, okay. What Mitch said is, we'll be late and arriving soon, perhaps, if and when possible, might not actually arrive. Okay. Letters to the Green Parties of Alaska and Rhode Island are typed and printed, will be sent out tomorrow. No news statewide for swarm care otherwise. So that is what Mitch sent me for swarm care. Other reports I would like to hear from are specifically Treasurer. So, Joe?
So we are officially registered with the FEC.
I saw that, yes.
And there was only one slight hiccup, which I could not for the life of me find the actual mailing address. So I ended up using my own personal address for that, which we'll have to correct at some point in the near future. But that being said, there really is no... it wasn't as bad as it was. They were really nice and walked us right through it. Welcome back, Yari.
Oh, I cut out for a second, apparently. Okay. Fun.
But yeah, no. So we're actually official and reporting, and even though it is now up to $50,000 before having to really report anything, it's I'd like to see us get to that point. We can now start accepting donations.
Okay,
and
so we can just start accepting donations and making money like all the way. Okay, that's excellent news.
Well, yeah, so long as we report, and I have, whenever there's a donation, just so long as I can, again, report it, but they will be monitoring a specific bank account automatically, and they're pretty good about just reaching in and looking and peeking, but we should just be proactive about reporting that and make it public record. So if you do any in-kind, please just report it to me. So if you spend money on behalf of the pirate party, I need to know about that. So that being said, we can...
Joe, with anything that I've done.
I would appreciate that. And of course, you can always just email me, or it's officially listed, so you can snail mail me if need be.
Oh, I have a question about reporting things back that we've done in kind. Is that something we need to go back and do for this year, or is it something that starts now?
It would be for the entire year.
Like, if we've done it for 2021, we should get with you?
Yeah, so there's a limit to how much you're allowed to do in kind per calendar year.
Okay.
And I will try and get that posted publicly. I'll try and find a link for it. I know I was recently sent it, like a million links. But it's all right there on the FEC website.
Bosun, it looked like you maybe wanted to say something, but you were muted.
Oh no, it's better that I am muted.
Okay.
I'm doing this is like Lex Luthor film noir in the way I'm set up here.
It's a good vibe. It's a good aesthetic. I like it. Okay. So thank you, Joe. No, I appreciate that. That's good to know. I'm glad we can do that. So we can now start accepting donations. Presumably, then the next once we have, just making sure my understanding is correct. Once we have the donation infrastructure set up on the website, there's nothing stopping us from using that as long as it connects to some sort of form that logs the necessary information for reporting.
Yes. So it's really specific, the information that we have to, whenever we take a donation in, who they are, what they do. And Mr. O'Keefe is very familiar with that. He's also deputized as a treasurer. He's a deputy. We discussed about him being the deputy treasurer. So he does actually have access to the account if need be. So when setting that up, he should have access to it. If worst case scenario, you cannot reach me, Mr. O'Keefe can always get into the account as well.
And
I mean, last I knew, if anything over $50 has to be. Actually, no. Actually, I'm not sure I have to go back and look. But basically, name, address, and then if they give over $200, then we have to know the employer and their job title. So.
I actually just looked it up exactly. Individual contributions, we need the name of the source of the receipt, the mailing address, employer, occupation, election to which contribution or loan was designated, date of receipt, amount of receipt.
Okay.
So yeah, name and job.
So we need to set up
address.
I'm sorry, that's for individual. It doesn't. That was for individual. That is for donation to an individual campaign. I apologize.
I mean, I think it's the same information. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it is pretty much the same. If
we can set this up later.
Yeah.
The specifics, I mean, people can look up the specifics online if they need to anyway. Sorry, Jamie, were there questions that you had? I think I cut you off.
No, I was just saying we should probably choose a payment provider so that people can give donations online. So obviously, putting up a mailing address, you can send a check to whatever is great, and then Joe can handle that, or I can handle that if necessary. So,
is there any reason that the IT committee can't handle picking that?
Yeah, we can do the research and come back with suggestions. Sure.
Mr. O'Keefe.
Whatever.
Mr. O'Keefe, if I may.
Yeah, please.
My question is there a way to make it so that they can't even submit the donation until they filled out the rest of the form?
That's usually the requirement. I know for Massachusetts, the provider that we use, there's boilerplate, you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. This is coming from your own account, not a corporate account. You are 18 or older, blah, 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 blah. So it is, your own credit card, that type of thing. So, and then you have to fill out all the fields that are required. So I think all of the politically oriented payment folks sites will do that. So, I mean, I know of at least two, so we'll look at others and see what's available.
And I believe the standard procedure is if you receive something and it's in violation, if you give it back, the FCC kind of like goes, okay.
Yeah, that seems to be the standard thing.
The other option is if there's no way for us to give it back, we can just donate it to another cause like the Humane Society or etc.
Yeah, you donate it to charity.
Okay. Any other? Sorry. Anything else that needs to be taken care of with the Treasury?
No, that completes it all for now.
Okay. So, with that, it looks like we can, Bosun or Jamie, anything else? Oh, AJ,
Yep.
you want to say something?
I have to say, I was hoping someone else would join by this point, but I think I might have to head out, and I believe that means we might lose our quorum. Is that correct?
That would make
Yeah.
us lose a quorum, yes. Darn. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. And we can just move into a discussion. Yeah.
Question for the chair, please.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not meeting next week, right?
Yeah, that was my inherent understanding, but I don't think we actually officially decided that. So, are there any objections to canceling the scheduled meeting for next week?
There are no objections here.
No, thank you.
Hearing no objections from the assembled members of the PNC, the scheduled meeting for next week will be canceled. There we go. Okay. So that will be, I will make sure that that is publicized and that information is put out. Okay. Yeah, AJ, if you have to go, we can turn the rest of this into a discussion.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your attendance.
Of course. Yes, please discuss as long as you would like.
Yes.
Make the guy who made us at a PR position proud. All right.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of sucks that it appears that we have a lot of people with either tech issues or other things scheduled today, but I'm glad for those of us who were able to make it. So thank you all for being here. So the things that were out of quorum. This is no longer a meeting. Whenever anyone wants to go, you're welcome to go. I'm just continuing the role I like to fulfill of running things because I like doing that. But I'm not chairing a meeting anymore because this isn't a meeting. So the things that were on the agenda for us to discuss, though, were in old business stuff, the sort of in the vein of the moving towards an individual membership model. Bosun, I think you had talked about allowing membership of permanent resident non-citizens, but I feel like that discussion had kind of come to a point where it was just basically like hitting a voting point almost. So I don't even know if we need to talk about that unless there's stuff that people want to clarify. And then the other stuff was a proof of concept to be brought forward by Mitch Pimchi and Wodenstay, which is funny because they aren't here. And then that sort of continued discussion of items related to moving forward with that membership model. So if there's anything anyone wants to talk about with relation to those items or other stuff.
Well, I wouldn't mind bringing up something new.
Oh, please,
but
yeah.
it's kind of a can of worms, so...
Love cans of worms.
Oh, God. So what do you think of the Build Back Better program and that whole can of worms?
I would slightly ask first. if there is, before we address that, although I'm into addressing that,
Why?
I would just ask if there's any specific like PNC related items that people wanted to talk about. But if we don't want to talk about PNC related items, then yeah, let's have that conversation if you want to. I'm absolutely down to have that conversation. But I just feel
Honestly,
like that's not going to be PNC related at all. So I want to
it
have that
isn't.
after the PNC stuff.
Honestly, it isn't. It isn't.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I think a lot of us, myself included, and I was talking about with Jamie and how a lot of pirates are just really disheartened by the current state of things. And um, I really look to both Bosun and Jamie, and now yourself, as some of the senior leaders of how we're going to be handling this situation moving forward. And especially with us not having much content, to really be there to respond to what's just going on. So honestly, I would really like to discuss it. I don't have anything that I necessarily need to discuss because I know what my work is and what I have cut out for me for the next couple of weeks, which is significant. But Jamie, uh, Yari, Bosun, or Joe, Mr. Klein, um, how would
So
how do you guys want to proceed?
what is the okay? I'll air my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion is that we shouldn't stick our hands in the mousetrap set up by left or right partisans. And I believe that most of the weird objections to the bills and the way they're phrased is they're all like partisan mousetraps.
Mm.
That neither the Democrats are. I mean, you could say, well, the Democrats are doing this or the Republicans are doing this. First of all, I've got to admit I have contempt for most of the Republican Party right now because, as far as I'm concerned, they like participated in an attempt to create a coup, and that's not exactly the way anybody who is claiming that they're protecting and defending the Constitution of the United States should act.
To put it lightly, it's not good policy.
Yeah, I don't think that's good policy. But I also find that I find it objectionable. I think a lot of the reasons that the politics are so bad between the two parties is that there are two parties. Okay. And we have made it such a binary choice that we're no longer capable of having any kind of middle ground or compromise or even like innovations that are outside of the envelopes of the two parties. So how do you do, pushing, if you look at the history of the United States, the progressive politics, using the P word there, not the way it's rephrased by the liberal part of the Democratic Party. Progressive politics came out of the Progressive Party, which was a third party. And if you look at most of the reforms in the beginning of the 20th century, they were the results of pressures from third parties. And two-party systems don't want to have reform. They just want to have a binary choice. And our policy should be like, we don't get involved in playing that game. Because it's a game. It's a game with the way the talk show hosts deal with, yeah, you've got like conservative radio, but the liberal radio tends to be liberal radio, quote unquote, tends to be talking points for the Democrats, and there's not a lot of dialogue outside of the two-party system, at least in the mainstream media.
Well put. I mean, it's always been red versus blue, Democrats versus Republican, however you label it. And before that, it was what, Democrats and Federalists?
No, it wasn't always that way.
No, I mean, going back, I mean, the two parties in power, what was it? George Washington was a part of the Federalist Party.
George Washington didn't believe in parties.
Well, there was the Federalists, but there were the Whigs, there were the
Whigs, yep, the Whigs.
Dixiecrats, there were the
progressives.
Yeah, the progressives, the
Populists.
They only won one state.
populists.
But
Yeah, you got a whole bunch of different parties in U.S. history.
And prior to the Civil War, there were like 4 or 5 different parties that came and went. There was the one referred to as the Know Nothings, which was the American
the
Party.
Know Nothings are fun.
The Republican Party.
No, Massachusetts, where the Know Nothings won most of the legislature for 1 2-year term, and then everyone was like, "Boy, what were we on, man? We're not
right."
Office."
They were basically the Trumpians of the 1840s.
Yeah. When people hated the Irish instead of
they were anti-papists.
Yes, yeah. But Irish coming over many times from the South were more likely Catholic than they were Protestant. So,
well, thank you.
The Know Nothings were anti-papist. There's some of their stuff was bizarre. They were convinced that the Catholic Church was trying to take over the country. Yeah,
I think that good wisdom on staying out of that whole can of worms. I do think that, honestly, as far as the whole program goes, it is a severe disappointment that it, on the long term, it's just going to hurt middle America, which is just going to hurt America in the long run. So,
well, $778 billion went for the Department of Defense when they routinely lose at least $25 billion every year. Literally, they have they don't know where it went.
Well, the Democrats have this habit. I mean,
at least
liberal Democrats supposedly are mouth stuff about reducing the Pentagon budget, but they never do it because they don't want to look weak on defense. I
mean, yeah. $24 billion on 3 ships that don't even work. Well, I mean, they float. They move. That's about it. I mean, I think to the point about moving us from our current state orientation towards membership orientation, I feel like if you look at the Democrats, you look at the Republicans, their structure is not a membership-based party. And I think moving us towards more of a mass membership-based party is the way to go. That may be the DSA model or, whatever. But the DSA isn't a party. They're just a nonprofit. But, I think we're more powerful. I think the Democrats and Republicans can be beholden to people with large amounts of money very easily because they don't have a mass membership base.
Although if you give $10 to the Democrats, they'll send you a membership card.
I mean, I've asked not to be on their list, and they keep sending me mailings. I've literally been like, no. Should I put this in a brick? Should I put a brick back in the return envelope and send it back to them? I don't know how to get them to stop sending me mail.
You know what really boggles my mind about that is the fact that we're always getting scam calls, and they are identical to the way Democrats hit you up. You
I
know,
don't know. The ones I'm always getting are like the fraternal order of this police thing, which is,
them too.
other than the calls that are clearly someone from some other country trying to like get into my computer or sell me solar power on my roof or whatever, which is,
I wouldn't be
I feel sorry for
surprised.
them, the person calling, like, but that's, but no, I'm not interested in your service. So.
Honestly, if the Democrats send me something about my car's extended warranty, I'm just gonna cry.
Oh, that'd be great. I think re the membership model. I was talking with Radio Joe about this a bit, and one thing that we were talking about is sort of how there's this division that isn't talked about often between people who, it's not just about giving people a vote, it's also about giving people a voice. And those two things are actually separate, right? If you have, if you have, it's easier to give people a vote in things than it is to give people a voice in a forum, because a forum, when you have once you reach a critical mass, it's kind of harder to maintain and structure and stuff like that. Whereas if it's just voting, you can pile as many people as you want in there, and that's really actually quite easy to maintain.
It's scale.
So yeah, it's really easy to scale. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And so having some sort of thing where you have like still some sort of what we were thinking about, what we were talking about between ourselves and with others for California is some sort of system of representation vis-a-vis the delegation of debate and such things, in terms of who has a voice at larger meetings, but then the voting is still all entirely open and democratic. Which I don't know how we want to do things, but that's just a thing which I thought was interesting as an option.
I think using membership, even if it's a token membership, like who cares what it is? If it's like, even if it was 50 cents a year, right? That the fact of making people buy a token to be a participating member makes a difference, because it's, as long as there's no skin in the game, you'll get the nuts coming in.
I mean, I think what Bosun, if I can reiterate what you're trying to get at, is if there's no personal responsibility, if you're not putting your money where your mouth is, then what is the point of you doing this if you're just coming in to influence it, but not actually going to support it? Correct?
Yeah. Well, either way, I think putting a token amount of money in it actually makes you think about whether you support it, or no matter how, even if it's small.
No, this is absolutely true. This is a thing in pretty much any trade that is unregulated, that is not, that is more run by individuals in terms of small businesses. I mean, that's true for commissioned trades all over. I know a lot of my artist friends will do that sort of thing, where like you have to pay into the thing in order to get any work done on it. It's the same sort of principle. Like you have to. There's always like an upfront cost before because that's what shows that you are actually invested in this thing. Yeah, it's that sort of principle. I want to be conscious of our time and be conscious of the fact that we are nearing the hour mark that we normally end around.
Yeah.
So we can continue this conversation, of course, but just want to be.
Well, I think also in English common law, if we're operating under a compact and I put in $1, in effect, that creates the legal binding between the person who participates in the contract. That's the reason it seems silly when people say, well, we're going to give you $1 if you sign this contract. But that's just the way it works under common law. It's like there's an exchange of something of value. And I think people generally believe that if you exchange something of value, that you've made a commitment.
Yeah, I mean, but we also have to deal with the fact that if we're trying to encourage those under the age of 18 who may not have a credit card or a debit card or some other way of paying, maybe it makes sense that it could be, an alternative would be you volunteer 2 hours in a year. And then once you've done the 2 hours, then now you're a member for the rest of for 365 days or something like that. It just that's
that makes. Then you're saying essentially
time.
Yeah, time could be considered.
That makes sense. Yes, any sort of investment.
Yeah.
Sorry, Besson. Yeah.
Yes, time could be considered an in-kind donation.
Yeah, time is money. So
labor has value.
Yes, I don't think we should fall into the trap of saying, well, we can fill things in with free labor, because that's kind of devaluating the labor. And I don't believe that's what the party's about.
No, I completely agree. I mean, we do appreciate our volunteers very much, and we are among them for sure. That said, free labor is not great, and labor should be valued in an ideal situation, and should be compensated. Yes. We just, as a group that has pretty much no income.
No,
right
I
now
would
we
be
do
happy,
not have
if
the means to do
you
that.
If you said you come and man a booth for when we've got like a booth set up someplace distributing literature, then that's as good as paying a membership.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You just have to have the mechanism where somebody can sign off on it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we could make one of the things, the list on the thing. I will give an hour of my time to the party.
Well, when they're going to donate, is there a possibility of adding in, would like to take time, hand out signs, and different like campaigning activities for donating?
It's usually on your volunteer list. Yeah, sure, why not?
They were just putting on the volunteers, so when they go to donate money, you can also donate time.
I mean, I guess my feeling would be start with the money and then be like, if you are under the age of 18 or are low income or, this, then you can also like give an hour or two of your time and become a member. And because we don't want everyone saying, yeah, I'll give all these hours, and then we don't have things for them to do, and we don't have resources for them to distribute. So
yeah, don't refuse the money.
Yeah, I think there's a balance there. Then that makes sense. I mean, frankly, I'll take both, but yeah. But yeah, I think right because labor has value and money has value.
Right,
I'll take either.
and if you're saying
Our free membership has value.
If we're saying we believe in at least a minimum wage of at least $15, that's asking. We're asking for less. We're probably asking for an hour's of work, and 1 hour of work would be a paid membership.
Yep. But people can always give more.
Yeah, you can give more.
This is true. This is true.
So with that, may I motion to adjourn?
Yeah, we're not in a meeting,
adjourned.
so let's yeah. I agree with that. Let's skedaddle. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna do the end screen speech. So this is the end screen. Thank you all for joining us on this lovely non-PNC meeting. Have a great evening and enjoy your holiday season. And we will see you not next week, but the week after.
Next year, right?
That will be next year. Yeah. So we will see you in 2022, where more pirate things will be coming down the pipeline, and we're very excited for the elections coming up and all the new and exciting things that we will be doing. So keep us in mind. Go to the uspirates.org website, join our Discord, and hopefully we will see you on the campaign trail with us, or on your own campaign trail, and you can help us advance the cause. So vote pirate, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're out. That's the end of the meeting.
Thanks.